Hello, hello. As always, we're going to be doing our normal little mic check first, but hello, Internet. How's everybody doing today? As soon as they get confirmation from chat that audio's coming through right, I can click some stuff too here, see if that's too loud, too quiet. I can always adjust things on the fly too, but it's easier to check this stuff now. You hear me? Do I sound loud? Sound quiet? Do I sound good? Because today's going to be a lot. We're going to get up to a lot of... Awesome. Fine, I'll take it. So, last time, I believe it was the recovery mission. And once we brought her back, Valentina, from Duna, we ended up getting a new mission, which was... these controls are so much different than KSP1. So we ended up getting a mission to go to Tylo, and it gives us a bunch of science out of this. However, there's all these side missions here that provide between a little and a decent amount of science each. There's this. We got this one from the last mission. I do remember you, MKM Sup. So, we actually ended up with a decent chunk of science here, 7,000, but it's not enough. It's not enough. I want to get all the way to heavy nuclear propulsion so that I can use the big hydrogen and the big hydrogen tanks and the big hydrogen engine along with some of the other stuff up here, but I can't afford the other stuff up here and that. It's all good, MKM. Stuff happens. That also happens. Things happen. But today we are going to get up to doing all these side missions. I think we're going to start off with doing the basic one out to Minmus. Land a vessel on Minmus with a current mass over 200 tons. We're going to launch a vessel with 4 wheels as well. And we're going to achieve geostationary orbit with it. The rest of these are from other places. So we'll do those 3 first. The game is Kerbal Space Program 2. Being 100% honest, if you haven't played it, I recommend picking up KSP1. This one does have better graphics, and its progression is a little bit more thought out, but neither of those things are worth the exchanges that you make for it. My current plan of attack, actually, is I am going to be finishing KSP2 for Science so that I've got the whole series done. I'm not gonna lie, KSP is much more worth it than KSP2 is, and I want to finish the 4 Science series just simply because I started it, and I'm the type of guy who likes to finish what he starts. However, once I finish the KSP 4 Science stuff, I'm gonna be moving back to doing KSP guides. Like, instead of just doing them for KSP2, I'm gonna do KSP 1 and 2 guides, and then I actually have something cooking way later down the line that looks like it's gonna be focused almost entirely on KSP 1. I do have a script I'm writing for a long form on KSP2, but that is going to be... It's not going to be a story game, it's going to be a story, and it won't be a fun one. But I think that for the sake of documenting that too, I might do a one-stop shop information on everything that's happened with KSP2 from start to finish. But that script is big, and I also have kind of been waiting to make sure that there's no other news, because when I seal that and I finish that off and I finalize that script and start speaking it, I'm not doing anymore, you know? Like, I'm not gonna do a second part or anything. I would love to, but I know it would get my hopes up too much if that ever were to happen, so it would be probably better for me and for everyone if we just get it all documented, get it all out there. It'd probably give me some catharsis, maybe help some other people get some catharsis out of the situation that KSP 2 has resulted in, because this game, it's not gonna get anywhere. I have no wheels unlocked. That's going to prevent me from doing that part of the mission. Also, I don't think this is heavy enough yet. So, hold on. We're going to go to Research and Development and unlock basic wheels. If you like story MKM, I would recommend keeping an eye on my Regality SMP stuff as well. The upcoming weeks and upcoming months are going to be even more story leaning on that stuff, and I'm really excited for it. Okay, so one thing we have to do is we have to have 4 wheels on this thing, so we're just gonna accomplish that in the most basic way possible. Boom. It's not going to go anywhere on those wheels, but it does the job. It'll accomplish the mission goal for us. Is that landing gear far enough? I don't think it is. No, it's not. Okay. Then what I'm going to have to do is create some trusses that carry it over. That's a big beam. God of War Ragnarok? I actually haven't played it yet. I might have to take a peek at it. I've been playing a lot of different games recently, and it's been very refreshing. That's a good word for it. There we go. And then we'll put the landing gear on the bottom of those. Is Jedi Survivor actually decent? I'm not gonna lie, I haven't had my hopes up for a long time with any of the Star Wars games. Star Wars, to me, hasn't put out a lot of good media lately. I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I think of Star Wars Disney media, I think of those 4 characters in the Book of Boba Fett that drove around on the little color-coded Vespas. My roommate and I nicknamed them the Wiggles, and that's what we called them, was the Wiggles, because I'm like, how am I supposed to take these guys seriously? They look like the frickin' Wiggles. And that is not a group of people I would consider to be, like, a threat. And that's what the characters are supposed to be, was they were supposed to come across as, like, dangerous, but, like, kind of young and misguided, I think. But that is not what they were communicating with those characters. It was like, look at how much merch we can sell. You want to buy the color-coded Vespas now, don't you? And it's like, no, I don't. I want nothing to do with your stupid little color-coded Vespas. That's not the moves. That's not Tatooine. That's not Star Wars. Okay, I'm gonna get off my tangent, but not that all Star Wars media recently has been bad. Just it's been shocking that the ratio has gone down from, you know, mostly good with a few really bad eggs to random chance what you're gonna get this year. Is it gonna be good? Is it gonna be bad? Is it just gonna be forgettable and nobody's gonna remember it next year? What's it gonna be? What's the mass of this? Engineer's report. No, that's the parts manager. This is the engineer's report. It needs to be, what, 200 tons for the mission? So this isn't even remotely heavy enough. I need to make it far heavier. Okay, I can manage that. What's our mass now? 176. That's closer. Okay, I think I can manage this, though. I think what we're going to do is we're going to end up just encapsulating this almost entirely in fuel tanks, and then putting engines on the bottom of each of these fuel tanks. And this should be enough weight now. What do we got now? 211? It's a little bit close for my liking. Let's see if we can add some weight onto it. These are not nuclear engines. In KSP2, they actually got rid of the nuclear engines and they replaced them with a new fuel called hydrogen. It ended up being more balanced, but it also ended up being one of the few things I think they fully thought through. So, you know, a balanced engine doesn't do well with a game that's not super duper balanced in the first place. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit salt when I found out that they were getting rid of a lot of the other details that were in the first game. Like, they got rid of how science is collected and changed that over dramatically so you don't have to take as many repeat missions, which I guess is more fun, but it's less realistic. And the other big part about it is they changed, like, currency and reputation. They no longer exist. Those used to be big parts of how the system worked, you know? That used to be a big part of how career was career, but now it's just science mode or creative mode. And it works for some people, but... Oh, you thought they were nukes. No, they're just big fuel tanks with engines on them. This is a rocket. We're launching a rocket to space right now. I just need to figure out what kind of package, or how much I need to push this package up into space now. Because I've got all the science. I need generators. To the aliens. There actually are, like, some aliens in this lore. We don't see them. At least I haven't seen them yet. I don't know if they exist at all like that. I doubt they do, considering the blowback for this game leads me to believe that they probably don't have anything that groundbreaking in here, because that would be something that would make a lot of people happy. And then there wouldn't be so much overwhelming negativity. So, most likely no actual aliens, but there are monuments and stuff left behind by them, and we go out and research them. Maybe I can land next to the one that's on Minmus. I don't know if I can track it anymore because we already left it, but if I can, I'll show you guys. Yeah, this should be all I need for this package. Let's check the mass. 214 tons. It's a little bit close for my liking, but we'll make it work. I think we can do it. We'll land on Minmus first, then we'll do the geostationary orbit thing. We'll have plenty of fuel afterwards for that. There it is. They even changed the way that some things are organized on this menu, and it does mess me up on a pretty regular basis. Wait, no. Yeah, we're gonna go with a skipper. I need more push. Well, maybe it's time to loop back to it then, MKM. See what you can find. See what's still there. It's always fun to return back to a game that you haven't seen in a while, especially if it was a good one. Then again, there might have been a reason why you put it down in the first place, you know? It might not have been that compelling. There have been a few shows and games that I've seen that I'm like, why didn't I finish that? And then I go back and watch them, I'm like, oh, that's why I didn't finish it. It wasn't worth. Alright, we're gonna add some boosters to the side here, because I want to try and avoid being in the VAB as much as we can today. Many of the videos that I post that are, you know, 30 minutes long, those missions are actually multiple hours. Building takes even longer than that, and all of those vessels, almost every single one, is pre-built. I build the entire thing in another world, test it the entire mission all the way through, then go do it on camera to make sure that it's as smooth as possible and makes the most sense to the viewer. I don't want to be confusing, but this stuff does get confusing. Minmus Lander Big. That's what we're gonna name it. Cool. We're gonna assign some Kerbals to be inside here. Not Valentina. Valentina lands first everywhere, so we'll take a different crew. Kerman. That's an interesting name. And then we'll take Bob and Jebediah. They're classics. Alright. And then we're going to... Oh, we gotta connect the fuel pipes. Should name it Nuke 1 to 4. But it's not a nuke! I mean, going to space and launching a missile are pretty close. You know, you just gotta strap a bunch of fuel to a very weight-efficient payload. But it's not the same thing. Alright, we're going. Oh, we already got a science award. Oh, yeah, because we launched a vessel with 4 wheels on it. Wow, that was hard. Alright, well, that's the first mission done. Second mission, here we come. Oh, no. That's not good. Okay. We just dropped a bunch of tanks. We just dropped a bunch of tanks. That thing would have started cartwheeling. We gotta strap it. We gotta ratchet strap this thing to everything else. One of the things they added in KSP 1 to solve this kind of wobbly issue was a thing called auto strut. It doesn't exist in this one. Another thing I should do actually is I should turn off gimbal on all of these. When you have a bunch of thrust coming from not the center of mass, even if it's all equal on all sides, gimbaling can make it rock really, really rapidly and really uncontrollably. There we go. Alright. Those extra struts and turning off the gimbal should fix the problems. Let's try this again. What do you mean sitting without protection? They're all in spacesuits up in the cab up here. Alright, let's see how this launch goes instead. Seems a lot more stable so far. So, now on launch, my whole mission is to get my apoapsis number in the bottom left here up. Then we'll be raising the periapsis number once we get higher up. This nav ball here tells me my direction. It tells me my vector, no matter where I'm pointing. And overall, we're going to be pitching a little bit to the left, going towards that 90-degree marker right here. If we can hit that 90-degree marker right on those numbers themselves, that also represents that we're 45 degrees pitched. It's a good launch inclination. So now that we've pitched ourselves, we're just going to try and hold and let the prograde, which is that little yellow marker, move towards the 90. We're not going to get in its way. I mean, MKM, if there was multiplayer in this game, you know that I would be developing ICBMs and stuff like that. Everybody knows that. Oh no, this is not going good. Gimbal enabled. Enable the gimbals. Yes, okay. It started trying to pitch backwards. Air resistance was bad for a second there. I think we got control back though. We should be okay. Dropped our first set of boost tanks. Draining our second set. We're looking alright though. This looks good. Yeah, this looks good. So now we just pitch and wait. The boost... I dropped the boost tanks because they were empty. They'll crash into the ocean. They won't hit anything. Those tanks are the first tanks. They were draining for both the engines that were underneath them and these engines. So when they dropped, they freed up a whole bunch of weight, and these tanks right here started to drain. We'll be dropping them in a minute too, actually. We're going to lock our positioning so that we stay on the blue side. If we go towards the brown side, that means that we're going down. That's the horizon line there. And our apoapsis needs to go up to about 70k still. So we're going to pitch ourselves and just keep on pushing ourselves up higher. ICBMs in this game are fun, I won't lie. You know, there's not a lot of stuff to hit, but they're a lot of fun. They are a lot of fun. And I really wish the KSP2 met full fruition, or got to full fruition, because then we would have had multiplayer. Real multiplayer, and that would have been groundbreaking. Amazing for the game. I don't think it was necessary for the game, but I think it really would have opened it up to a whole new department of people, and it would have encouraged a lot of people who were on the fence about the game to learn more about the game because their friends were playing it and playing it with them, nonetheless, you know, so. Personal take, though. I've seen a lot of opinions about, oh, multiplayer wasn't necessary, it was too much work, you know, it overstressed everybody and it made things actually never happen, ... so. I don't think I'm going to have enough fuel. Or rather, I don't think I'm going to have enough weight. I'm worried. What's MKM? The fact that I dropped the... Oh, wait. I know what you're saying. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All rockets kind of look that way. I know what way you're talking about, too. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Oh, no. We're about to start falling. We still need more mass. Or rather, we need more thrust. Alright, one more time. It looks like I am aware what you mean. I get what you mean. But all rockets kind of look like ... you know? Kind of how air resistance and everything works. I thought about that when I created my first rocket. I'm like, these all just look like that, don't they? And the answer is yes, they all just look like that. Alright, so I'm gonna do the most stupid solution that you can do, but I'm lazy. And anybody watching the stream, I'm sorry if you know this game and know that there's better solutions. I know there are too. But the mission is get a certain of mass up into space. And I'm gonna do that by stacking rockets. So we're adding another set of booster engines to the side here. That's what we're doing right now. Welcome to the team. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the right path. Not always. Not regularly, but sometimes. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to couple these engines to this. And then these will probably disconnect later than the other ones. We're also going to hook them into crossfeed. We're actually going to do that. Okay, we've got everything staged up now. This should work. We're going to save. Kerbal Manager, Jebediah, Kurt, and Bob. Cool. Sometimes that glitches out, so it's good to check it. Save one more time because the staging was wrong. Okay, cool. Let's go. Another pack. Yup. Just crack. Whenever you got a problem, just crack open another pack of nukes. That's all you need to do. We're gonna throttle the engines down a little bit too. We don't need more thrust at the start. We need... Do you know what they call a rocket that just randomly explodes in the air, MKM? Like something that just unplanned detonates? They call it a RUE. A rapid unplanned disassembly event. Fortunately, we haven't had any of those happen. Yeah, they call it, yeah. It's a very clinical term for a very unplanned problem. Then again, there's been a lot of RUEs in recent years, thanks to private companies. Only 12. It's only 12 engines on the first stage. Don't worry about it. I've launched things with much more ridiculous engine stacks on them. You don't learn how to play this game. Oof. How many engines are there? Because I don't know. There are no nukes on board. Oh no, that's the wrong stage. No! We have a problem. We just ditched a bunch of fuel. We just ditched all of the extra fuel that we made. Yes, very sad. This is why I was talking earlier where I do proof launches and stuff like that to make sure the staging is right and all that fun jazz. Because otherwise this happens. And now they're merged, and that's worse. I gotta manually separate them now. This game does not do groupings front nicely. There we go. Okay. There we go. Now we launch. We're gonna run the engines in it. What did I do? So, on the right side here, you see all these different stages, these numbers here. When I press spacebar, the next thing will happen. What was supposed to happen was the tanks on all four sides were supposed to drop, because they were empty. Instead, the third stage engaged, which dropped the center tanks, which were still full and with lit engines on them. So I lost control of the engines, and because they got lighter, they just went woo right up into space. So, that was a rapid, unplanned disassembly event. Not as violent as many of them normally are, but it was one of those. That was not meant to disassemble in that way. Other way around, the other tanks were supposed to drop, and they will. I mean, it happened instantly. As soon as I hit spacebar, they disassembled. pitching the wrong way. I got to adjust us. Quickly. I got to adjust before those boosters rock out, because I got to go back to the main point. There we go. Okay. There we go. Drop. There we go. See how they're going down instead of up? That's the right tanks. Maybe dropped the right tanks this time. There they go, falling back to Earth. As we rocket up into the skies. Time to turn up the engines and lock ourselves so that we have a higher pitch. MK, you're so excited about the booster tanks. And booster tanks are like secondary to everything else that's going on. I don't blame you, but it's funny. Cool. Science here because it looks like we're missing something of some sort. So there. We're gonna pitch ourselves and set our gimbals back on. And then we're gonna drop those extra tanks. When you're going through the air, it's kind of important that you're pointing at your prograde when you drop things like tanks. Otherwise the air resistance will start slamming things into other things. If you're pointing, the drag just pushes them behind you instead of into you. The next ones are dropping. Boom. Kaboom! Experiment is running right now. That's interesting. I wonder how long that thing takes to run. Because we're going into space soon. The pitch is looking good. Everything's looking right. We should make it orbital this time. With enough weight, I hope. If not, I gotta revert again and then add a bunch of ballast to the top of this thing, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. Thank you, MKM. A little bit of dark humor never hurt anybody. Just a little. Everything in moderation. So now that we've gotten up and are actually outside of, well, we're not outside of the air yet, but we're just about to be all the way above all of the gases that, make up the planet's atmosphere. Up there, we can orbitalize. I'm going to pitch a little bit more towards the horizon line. What humor do I prefer? That's a really good question. It really depends on the day, I would say. Sometimes just like a good old situational comedy is all it takes. Oh, yes! Experiment finished successfully. Good, okay. So we did finish it just in time, too. We're about to go above the atmosphere. Alright, time to boost. 1 sec. Oh, no, not like that. Not target locked. We need to boost horizontally. Because now that we've got this number above 70k, we want this other number to go above 70k too. That's how we'll get up into space and stay up in space. Right now, we're just falling. There we go. Didn't have to deploy that until much, much later in the staging. That's good for us. So you see, we're falling still, but as we accelerate, self-destruction sequence. Nah, they're doing their job. They're doing their job well. They got us all the way up here. Now we just gotta get this 200 tons to mid this without losing too much mass. The trick to orbitalizing is actually really simple to explain. You have to be going forward as fast as gravity is pulling you downwards. Go to the sun. No. The sun is the most expensive place. The gravity physics of it make it really, really hard to actually land on the sun. Not to mention, we are here with a mission in mind. We are going to go to another planet, though. This mission is going to one of the moons orbiting the Earth analog, And then the next mission after this, we'll either go to Venus or we'll go to Mars. Depends on how much time we have left over. Each of those missions takes a little bit less or more. The Duna mission's a lot longer because I have to land on both planets and return, while the mission to Venus or Eve is much, much shorter because I just send a satellite out there. We don't have the technology to land on the sun yet. You need crazy high efficiencies in order to even get close to the sun. But I'll tell you what, if we do everything good for the other missions, and if we do the Eve mission, if we have some spare time, I'll launch a probe at the sun. I'll launch something in remembrance of the Parker's solar probe, and we'll do something like that, because that's cheaper, technically speaking. And it will get us close to the sun, not all the time. There's not technology for landing on the sun, but there's technology for more efficient engines. And the amount of fuel, or the amount of thrust it takes to get even close to the sun is crazy high. So the more efficient engine you have, the better chance you're going to have of getting even remotely close to the sun itself. The sun's gravity is so high that as you get closer and closer to it, you end up with such a speed differential that it's really hard to make up for it. If not completely impossible. It's orbital physics. I don't know what your question mark entails. Okay, I'll show you, all right? When I land on the moon analog, this is Minmus that we're landing on, but it's one of the moons. When I land on that moon, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I mean, technically you could. There is a surface on the sun somewhere. I don't know if there's a destruction zone beyond, like, above that. And on some planets, you know, there is no surface to land on. Back in the day, you could actually land on the analog for Jupiter, which was called Joule. You could set down on that as long as you know, were really, really creative with your ship designs. They patched that a couple years ago, though. And with re-entry heating now being a mechanic, Joule, Jool. Joule is the analog for Jupiter. Here, I can show it to you. This is Joule. It's a gas giant. So technically there shouldn't be any surface anywhere. But in the original game, the coders had to make a surface somewhere. So they made a flat surface at the center of this that was just kind of like a black ball, and then that was surrounded by all the gas. But back in the day, if you were really, really creative, you could set down on the surface of Joule. Alright. So now we're going to Minmus. This is our target here. The keybinds are so different. So you see how much fuel I'm expending just to get out a little bit of distance? It took me 800 units to get close to the moon, essentially. But as we go out further, it costs less and less fuel because the gravity is weaker. As we get further away from the originating planet, the body that's gravity is influencing us. The body whose gravity is influencing us, actually, but... Grammar. Let's see if we can get an intercept. Ooh, that's close, actually. Okay. There we go. Why can't planes go to space? Well, for one, planes suck oxygen in order to fly. And oxygen doesn't exist in space. One of the reasons why also, in order to fly, planes push against the air. Which, as I have previously stated, there isn't any in space. However, there are engine designs that are currently being tested that are capable of flipping between air breathing and closed system. So like this rocket right here, this has two different types of fuel on board. It has the actual fuel itself, and then it has oxidizer, okay? I can show that in one of these menus. It's the resource manager. Methalox. It stands for methane and oxygen, right? So each tank contains equal parts. When I turn on the thruster, all of these tanks will drain equally. I mean, humanity should. In the long term, that's kind of one of the I mean, for me, that's one of my long-term goals for our species as a whole. Is living in the galaxy, moving beyond just planet Earth. It will solve so many problems for us. It's not the ultimate solution to many of Earth's problems, but the technology developed will definitely help with many of them, and at the end of the day, there's a finite amount of resources on this planet. One of the ways we can get beyond that scarcity is by, you know, getting a hold of rocks that... Your species ain't gonna live, the sun explodes. Well, I mean, that's like, what, that's like another couple billion years away at minimum, right? We got time. We got time to figure it out before the sun explodes. We'll most likely make this planet uninhabitable before the sun explodes, if I had to be a betting man. So, I wouldn't worry about the sun exploding. I would worry about idiots. They're much more dangerous for the survival of the species. They're a much larger threat. The sun has been there for the entire time our species has existed, and it will probably be there longer than we have. The moon would be great, actually. I'm a huge proponent of us going back to the moon, predominantly because of the fact that we know that there's helium-3 there. Helium-3 is a fusion fuel that is not regularly found and readily available on Earth, but it is in droves on the moon. It's one of those things that almost makes me believe that that's meant to be a stepping stone, you know? Like, there's so much up there, and by the time that we discovered it was the time that we just got a hold of nuclear physics and everything and started to understand fusion and fission. So the fact that we then found a ready supply of the fuel, coincidentally within 50 years of all of that tech being developed, is astronomical and amazing. So I think we should capitalize on that. Speaking of nuclear fuel, have you guys actually heard of the new breakthrough that happened this week in nuclear reactor technology? The first reactor that appears to be completely meltdown-proof ran its first tests on meltdown. Essentially, they're called pebble bed reactors, and the way that they work, if the system were to fail, they have a passive cooling that requires no interaction whatsoever, and they just passively cool themselves down and, you know, dispel any dangerous nonsense. They prevent a meltdown from happening in the first place. The companies that are developing it and the countries that are backing it claim that there is no way for them to fail. Obviously, I think that that's a little bit too absolute of a statement, but I am really surprised by their confidence, and I am gobsmacked because we need nuclear energy back on the table again, and it needs to be a ready source and an available supply. Solar and wind and everything else are great, don't get me wrong, but it's just not as consistent as the grid needs, and batteries necessary to make those systems consistent far outweigh anything that you can do so much better in so many different ways. So nuclear, in my opinion, is going to be the future for almost any kind of densely populated group of people. It's the way to go, and if we start mining it from the moon, we will have so much energy. The crises we've been experiencing centered around energy in the last 100 years will be an afterthought in the future 100 years, you know? So I am a huge proponent for it, and when I heard about that new tech coming out and the new tests, I literally read about it right before I got on stream, because I didn't want to talk about something without at least reading like a paper or two. So I read some from some journals, and it looks decent. It's still very preliminary, but it looks promising, and I am legitimately excited if we can get that off the ground again, because nuclear has been stagnant for too long. And the new fusion breakthroughs that have been happening in the last couple of years also have me optimistic. Sorry, MKM, I started nerding for a minute there. hopefully will be brighter. That's my goal. That's my wish. And all these technologies and all these breakthroughs will hopefully lend themselves to some new renaissance. One of the things I find whack about our developments in the past, and many people probably don't know this, but the transistor is the most readily produced item in human history. We have made more transistors than we have anything else ever. Wheels, arrowheads, anything. Doesn't matter. We have made more transistors than anything. It is like the single mark that we could leave behind as a species, just how many transistors we have made. And when they were developed in the 50s by Bell Labs, they didn't think about personal computers. They didn't think about anything like that. They thought it would be like good for radio, you know? They thought it was like a neat thing. It might have some applications. Yeah, but flying cars were never a good idea. I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking about having flying cars when I was 6, and I kind of worked out the practicalities of that just being dumb. Not to mention energy inefficient beyond belief. What's the benefit to defying gravity to transport yourself? You spend all that energy going up just to come back down again whenever you reach your destination. What time is it right now? It is 5:42 right now. I'm on Central Standard Time. I stream from 5 to 8 every Sunday. I'm assuming by the way you're talking it was late. It's later. Yep. That's a European time zone, isn't it? Nice. Ah, got it on the first try. I don't know if we're gonna have enough weight, but we're gonna try. So, now we're flying out. Minmis is right there. We're going to end up not colliding with it, but ending up in its sphere of influence as it comes by. Then we're going to brake. Ah. Okay. We have no energy units because I'm not smart, apparently. I also think we've burned too much weight. I don't know what our mass is. Well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Alright. Oh, it's the score. There's a bunch of scores that they did for this. One of the things that I do like about KSP2 is the audio design. But again, it was one of those things that I think they focused on, and it ended up subtracting from other parts of the game. It is not the sun. That's Minmis. The sun is over there. It's very bright. Very bright indeed. So we're gonna spin around, pointing backwards, and then we're going to slow ourselves down. Kaboosh. We gotta get ourselves going much, much slower so that we can be captured by the gravity of Minmis instead of going back out to being inside of Kerbin's gravity. I do think we're too light, though. I think I burned too much fuel again, but if it happens, it happens. We'll go do the geostationary orbit mission, and then we'll go do the mission to Eve. It'll give us better science than doing this for a 4th time. And it wasn't like we were going to get all the side quests done in 3 hours, no matter what we did. So, here's the dealio, right? I'm going to explain this to you now, MKM. Imagine that Minmis is the sun, okay? And imagine that we are flying around the sun instead of around Minmus. Right now, you can see our orbital speed is 23 meters per second, okay? So we're right now traveling at 23 meters per second up here while we're far away from the planet. When we get closer to the planet, or not the, well, the moon in this instance, or the star when we're talking about the sun, we're going much faster. See that? We're going 133 meters per second. The same thing happens around the sun, but in the thousands of meters per second. Every time you do one of these braking burns, as you get closer to the sun, you end up going, prospectively, faster. So then you have to brake again, like I'm doing right now. You bring yourself closer and closer. So now keep track of our speed right now. We're going, yeah, well now we're gonna land, so. That's the question, is could you stop? You would need really efficient engines to stop nearby the sun and properly land. In order to get all of that speed bled out, and in order to get yourself where you are talking about being, you would need crazy high efficiency engines. That's what I was talking about earlier, where you can get research that does make it more possible. It's not easy by any metric, but it does make it more graspable. Yeah, you're getting it now. You're getting it now. That's how orbital mechanics work. So since we're starting already all the way out here and the sun is all the way in the center there, that's a lot of fuel to burn just to get even in a circle around it, right? Just to get in this kind of circle that Moho's in right here, it would probably take 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 units of fuel, you know? Or not units, but rather delta V, which is, you know, the amount of push that the fuel can give you. It's not the best description of it, but this is a live stream. I don't have... Yeah, really though, you would need to do an insane amount of staging. And the other thing is that you get diminishing returns with those stages after a certain amount of time. If you don't have all of the engines lit when you launch off of the main platform, you won't get as much lift, and the more you have turned off, the more dead weight you're trying to launch up. It becomes a big math problem, you know? It becomes a big balancing act of you need enough engines to get where you're going, but you don't want to overweigh yourself because then you end up not being able to have the right thrust to weight to even get off the world and get where you're going. So right now I'm just sailing down. I'm kind of taking my sweet time. I can speed this up though. And then once we're done landing here, even if we don't get that mission, we'll go back up. We'll get that special orbit. Actually, that was one of the things that KSP2 also said they were going to add in the long term was interstellar travel between different star systems. They never did though. However, I'll tell you right now, and to whoever's listening right now, that will be one of the final things I do in KSP2 before I close it down and possibly uninstall it, probably near the end of this year, calendar year, will be an interstellar mission to, you know, at least do it. You can go interstellar, it's just there's not really anything out there right now because they never added it in. KSP2's roadmap was going to be science mode, then... Oh, what was it? They failed to deliver on everything after science mode, so I totally have forgotten what they promised next. Was it colonies? I think it was colonies, and then they promised new systems and interstellar travel, and then they promised resource harvesting, and then the last thing on the list was multiplayer. I'm remembering that from memory, so I might be wrong. This is Minmus. It is the second moon. There is a moon there called the Mun, and that's the one closer, and then this is Minmus, and it's farther away, but it has a much, much smaller amount of gravity, so it's a lot cheaper to launch off from and land on. Second moon, yes. Precisely. You get it? Oh, I can run experiments here. Interesting. Free science is free science. I might as well get it. I mean, that's the whole point of the stream, is gathering extra science today, so. Not in the real world, there aren't. I think one of the reasons they added Minmus to original KSP was to make it a little bit easier, you know? Instead of just going to the moon and then immediately having to go interplanetary, you go to the moon and then you go to the farther moon, and that gives you a little bit more practice on your landings, your fuel budgeting, your transfer windows, all that stuff. It gives you a little bit more to do in the, you know, your system before you move out to the solar system. Because most players that I know as well never get out into the solar system, or maybe even just do 1 or 2 missions to another planet, and that's all they ever do. Around Jewel, there are 5 moons. Around Jewel, there are 5. Around Duna, there's 1. Around Moho, there's none. Around Dre's, there's none. Elu also has none. But Jewel, Duna, Eve, all of them have moons. Jewel isn't a real planet, but it's meant to be an analog for Jupiter. That's why it's a gas giant with a bunch of moons orbiting it, and all the moons have different details about them. Some of them are meant to be more similar to real-life moons that orbit around Jupiter. Some of them are a little bit more fanciful just to be a cool place to go. One of the moons really close to Jewel actually has flowing water and oxygenated atmospheres, which allow you to fly planes through its atmosphere, which is super cool if you ask me. We're gonna change our pointing a little bit more. We gotta change our heading. I wanna land in this crater. I didn't want to land on the side. Wrong way. There we go. Alright, now we should just have a nice calm descent. I'm near certain we burned through too much fuel, which is sad, but it is what it is. It's alright. Like I said, there are other missions to be completed today. Can't get them all. Not Pokemon. This is going to be my opportunity to do a small self-plug, though. For any of you listening, I want you to know, 80% of you not subscribed right now. I'm a small channel, very small channel. Would very much appreciate and love a few of those little subscription buttons being ticked, you know? It's kind of like tipping the bellhop, you know, even if you're just listening to this in the background, really helps me out in the long term. Tells the algorithm that I'm actually worth listening to, and, you know, that maybe some other people might like this stuff too, which would be fire. So now we're coming up on our landing. Wow, I still ended up on a slope. Rude. It's fine. We gotta boost up a little bit here. We gotta get ourselves positioned a little bit better. We weren't the right vertical. No! No, stop rolling! Don't do that! No! Okay. Well, you all get to see what a sideways launch looks like now. I've had to do a lot of these in my time. I'm not happy about doing them normally, but we can make it work. We'll make it work. It's alright. So we're gonna lock the SAS to hopefully stop this thing from doing what it's trying to do right now, which is roll down the hill. We're gonna run the science. And then we're going to run an EVA experiment in a minute. Once the ship stops being special. That's good enough now. Fine. Run surface survey. Run a crew observation. And then we'll hop back in and try to take off. These animations are cute, though. I do like those animations. Little surface survey, surface observation information. Cool. Alright, we're going to get back on board and we're going to take control of the ship. It's just a minor hiccup at the end of the day, honestly. Oh no, it's starting to accelerate, though. We gotta get inside. We gotta get inside now. It's also pitching, which is good. Stop clicking the things and let me click. Stop clicking the part manager, please, game. There we go. Board. 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 Yes. F5. Alright. Launch. That's not a launch. That's the wrong pitch. Oh! Don't crash. Don't crash. Yes. Yes. Launch. We're essentially going to play a game of point ourselves There we go. There we go. That thing, by the way, is called a Kerbal. Those are the inhabitants of the planet that we are running the space program for. Kerbal. That's why it's called Kerbal Space Program, is that we're not doing the program for humans, it's for these little guys. They're really derpy in the lore, and they're absolutely adorable. All the advertising for KSP2 kind of focused on them as well as, like, you know, the major mess-ups, and that's why we're in charge of the program, is because they are nearly invincible little goo balls, but they have no idea how to go to space. But they really want to! And that's where we come in. On the bright side, they don't require food, or water, or sleep, or oxygen. Unlike a human cargo would require. Yeah, they're kind of like the minions. They're cursed to be immortal idiots, you know? But they have a much more noble goal in mind than the minions. And I think they predate the minions. I think the Kerbals came before the minions. These things are not available live. I don't know how to read that, I'm sorry. Oh. Yeah, they're beyond life. They're beyond life. They're just immortal beings. They're immortal idiots. They spec entirely into regeneration and have no spec whatsoever in intel, integrity, mental fortitude, wisdom, none of it. In the original game, there were 2 metrics for each individual, and I think it was like cowardice and... No, it was... There were 2 metrics. One of them was like really good, like it was a positive metric to have, and the better they were in that, the better they would be in like a pinch. And then there was one that was essentially akin to like stupidity. And the stupider they were, the more likely they were to like not answer a command or execute a command wrong or do something else weird. I don't think any of the KSP2 Kerbals have those metrics, but it was really funny, because sometimes I would specifically just fill a ship with stupid Kerbals. I mean, they're all not that smart, but I would specifically choose the bottom of the barrel and be like, alright, you're going on a 10-year trip to Pluto. Enjoy! Because there's a Pluto analog as well. I can go over them, actually, in a minute. Oh, there we go. Real-time warp is taking place. Pitch ourselves forward now. So we're doing the same thing we did on the original launch, you know? We're going off the surface that we landed on. We went up, and then we orbitalized. Now we're not going to fall back down again. Now that we're up here, I need to check a variable. Yep, we didn't get the little chonker one. Land a vessel on Minmus with a current mass over 200. Darn it! You're the type of human who don't need sleep. I need a lot of sleep. I don't... All the projects I do, I wouldn't be remotely where I was. Oh, so we're supposed to land a lander can and perform a crew observation at Cappy Rock. That might be another third little mission we can go on. Alright, geostationary orbit is at 2863. Chat, write that down. 2863. 13 a.m. Alright, we're shooting for an altitude of 2863 now. So what we're going to do is we're going to break out of orbit from Minmus and go back to orbiting around the planet. We can pitch ourselves steeper then. Get a better number. So something like this. What if we just add a little bit more fuel to it? There we go. That'll work fine. Alright. Now we set ourselves to point at that maneuver node target, and then we'll time skip 46 minutes and begin our launch backwards. You're kind of sleepy? I'm not gonna lie, I keep some 5-hour energy right above my desk in case of emergency. Alright, my dude, you have a great night. I hope you get some rest. Don't sleep until 13 a.m. though, you know? And on your way out, if you don't mind my asking, maybe hit that like button. That goes for the rest of you listening as well. Much appreciate. Thank you much, my dude. You have a great rest of your night. I hope you get some good sleep. I'm gonna keep on going. I got missions to complete. Whoop whoop! First! Good stuff. I'm always on the grind. I spent the last 3 days working on the Minecraft video that comes out next Monday. I probably ended up sinking probably about like 30 or 40 hours into it this week. Bye! Sounds awesome. I'll be ready for you. Alright. We're just about ready to launch then. And then we're going to put ourselves in geostationary orbit, and then we're going to land. This game took years of practice, though, not gonna lie. These orbital physics are not something that comes easily, and it's not something that's intuitive. They are a lot of fun, though, once you figure it out. time warp forward. Bring ourselves closer to the planet again. So, for those of you who also don't know what geostationary, or in this situation, geostationary orbit is, obviously, when you're in orbit, you're spinning around the planet, and when you're close to the planet, you are going far faster than the planet's rotational speed. However, around almost all planets, I'm not certain if all planets have one, but I think they all do, there is an altitude that you are traveling at the same speed as the surface is spinning, which means that if you were to, say, go right on top of a building and put a satellite couple thousand kilometers up there, and it was traveling at the exact same speed, it would always stay directly above that house. That's what geostationary orbit is. It is the altitude at which the position you are relative to the ground stays the same. And if you put multiple satellites like that, then you would have consistent coverage of the same area at all times, no matter what else is going on in whatever network you have. That's the benefit to the idea. However, a lot of things don't run in geostationary orbit as well because the distance makes them transmit a lot slower. There's a higher delay because of the larger distance necessary to travel. What the heck is going on? That just gave us more juice instead of less? What? Is my control point reversed or something? Let's see. My control point seems to be reversed. Oh, this seems to be glitching bad. We're gonna F5, F9 and see if that fixes it. I'm surprised the bugs held off for the first whole hour, honestly, but let's see here. Oh, it's because it was still set to surface. That was my... What? It should automatically flip back when you... Wow, okay. I don't know whether that's user error or design error. It's just not good. Alright, so we're going for 2863. I might have reversed those numbers in my head. Nobody wrote it down in chat. I think it's 2863. Back around. Fortunately, we have so much extra fuel. This is going to be easy. It's not like we're going to be hitting any kind of tolerance issues or anything. We'll have plenty of fuel to execute as many maneuvers as we need, and then just drop our altitude all the way back home. That's good enough for now. Let's try that. I don't know how accurate the tolerances are. I'm assuming the game probably gives me a kilometer or two of tolerance, because... Wait, what? This isn't geostationary orbit. Is it just the speed and the altitude? Okay. Let's just keep on going. Because if it's just the speed and the altitude, then we just achieved it already. But I think we have to actually, you know, orbit properly. We'll bring ourselves down to 28 something. Then we'll go check everything out in the research center. And then if everything looks good, we'll land. Easy. Alright, there we go. Let's go check out our mission control. Yep, geostationary orbit completed. There we go. Good stuff. Yeah, I think we're going to do looking inward, which is go to Eve's sphere of influence. We'll send a little probe out there. First, we're going to bring our astronauts home, though. Kerbonauts. Alright, time to land. We're going to get ourselves into the atmosphere. Then we're going to wait to do most of our burn until we get to the other side. We want to loop around, but I want to get us real close to the atmosphere first, because all of these tanks, when we drop them, I don't want them staying in space. I want them to get dragged back down. No, I try to avoid space junk as much as I can. Not only does it seem to make the game run happier when there's less flying entities running around, but and it's better for footage too, but also it's just, you know, good manners. I've been playing the game long enough that I can manage to avoid most space junk. Most. Early game, it's almost unavoidable for some things. Alright, we're just barely going to scratch the atmosphere, just barely below 70K. And then we're gonna get ourselves reversed. Because all of these engines, these are all Poodle engines. I love them. They're great for upper stage. They work for crap in atmosphere. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide over the top of the atmosphere, just barely touching it. And we're going to burn out the rest of the fuel to make ourselves slow down. So we're going to time warp to like there. There we go. And then we're just going to focus on burning right on the horizon line. Get rid of all of our left-right momentum. Because the up-down, we can't really counter the up-down. We want gravity to pull us down. Don't know exactly where we're going to end up landing. It would be cool if we landed in the desert, but I doubt it. Probably end up somewhere over here, close to the space center. Yeah, neato. That wasn't even on purpose. Yep, we're never coming back now. We can't turn back now, rather. We're already in the thick of the atmosphere, and our periapsis is so low that the friction would completely get rid of all of the remainder of our momentum if we didn't get rid of it with our engines first. Which we're gonna do. We'll make our entry softer. Oh, it looks like we have another environmental experiment we can run. That's nice. On braking. Oh, we might land in the desert, actually. Either the ocean or right in the desert right here. I might even try to land without disconnecting the top section. That would be nice. Use the landing gear we never ended up using on Minmus to land the craft back home. We'll see. Depends if it snaps off on the way back down. To break off the last set of engines. Just a moment. See, it switched right on its own to surface, and if we tried to launch back, I'll bet you it would switch back to orbital, but it didn't do that on Minmus. Maybe it's because we were rolling like we were. Who knows? There goes the tanks. Drop drop them. Stage this so that those parachutes can be deployed without dropping the last tank. And we're just going to burn up a bunch of the extra fuel to reduce weights and slow ourselves down. Again, these things are absolute trash in atmosphere, but we might be getting... Well, first of all, we're getting a decent amount of thrust out of them right now, but I think that just has to do with the fact that it's a very light craft. It's a very, very light craft, and we're getting aero friction. Which is helping us. Should I try for an power-assisted landing instead of a parachute landing? I think we're losing too much altitude to do that, but I can try for it. It would be funny. Nah, I'm deploying parachutes. There we go. Yeah, we wouldn't have made it. We were still moving way too fast. We needed to bleed out that last 200 meters per second. But there we go. I'm happy with how much we're able to return, too. Not that this... Again, KSP1 rewarded you for coming back with more equipment and more gear because the money, you would make money back for, you know, bringing back more gear and not dropping it in space or whatever. But there is no money mechanic in this, so there's no difference between landing this as it is right now and breaking it in half and then landing half of it. It'll get me the same amount of science back, which is a little bit bleh, if you ask me. It makes you think a little bit less about your actions, which it's rocket science. I don't think that's something they should focus on. Thinking about your actions is like a big part of rocket science. There we go. Wasn't perfectly smooth, but was good enough. We're gonna run our experiments here real quick. Looks like there's ones we can do. Oh, whoa, that was bad. So he's doing his little thing where he hits his head comm and then talks for a little bit. This is the animation I like, though, personally. I think that this one's really nice. They had a similar one with one of the DLCs in the original game. But that's sweet. I like it. Alright, there we go. I actually don't have a ladder to get this bad guy back up on, so instead we're just going to send the recovery team and pick both of the crews up. Recover vessel. Yes. And then we'll go here. We'll recover vessel. Yes. And then we'll go back to the Kerbal Space Center. Cool. Alright, so then we're going to go to Eve. Let me check one thing real quick. I have a picture of KSP orbital windows that I use. There we go. One graphic that saves me a whole lot of work. The interplanetary phase chart. Angles calculated by ksp.olex.biz. Credit to the creator of that graph, because that thing saves me a lot of heartache. Because KSP1, I used Kerbal Alarm Clock, and I recommend everybody use Kerbal Alarm Clock, because eyeballing the transfer windows is just not great. I had to go back to doing it in KSP2 because, you know, I wanted to do the original game experience, but it's not worth the hassle. Alright, we're gonna go to the Vab, and we're gonna create ourselves a second craft. So, this time around, we're gonna go with a probe core, and this thing is gonna be fully automated. No people on board. I'm debating whether I should put an ion engine on this thing or not. You know what? Yeah, I will. But in order to do that, we're going to go to research and development and we're going to buy one thing. The one thing we're going to unlock today. Where is it? Oh, it's all the way out there? I just want the basic batteries. Ah. Fine. I was gonna get them anyways, fine. That's too much, though. That's overkill. Alright. Fine. We'll go with a different core, then, to make it lighter. And different antennas. So we're going to go with one of these smaller cores that's even lighter. And then we're going to stack batteries on it. And then we're going to go with utilities, and we're going to throw a controller on it. And then we'll attach one of these. And throw a relay dish on the top so that it can bounce signals. That way it will serve more than just scientific purposes. Once it's set up out there, it will also be great for relaying signals and increasing the range of my stuff. Those are probably overkill and too heavy. Yeah, we'll go with these instead. Then we gotta put the science on. There we go. And then we need power generation. Wow, I almost forgot power generation. Wouldn't that have been great? Welcome back, MKM. That was a quick nap. Uncovering the code of the game, there are people who have already completely dumped the entire repository for KSP2. Like, they've already got it completely, you know, uncoded and uncompiled. That was the word I'm looking for. So that already exists. I can guarantee you of that. People have been scrounging through the code for months trying to figure out what's there, what isn't there. Alright, this is good. This will work good. Considering that we're going closer to the sun, I'm hoping that this will be far more efficient than the last one I built. What am I doing? I am doing side quests right now in KSP2 in preparation for my Tylo trip, which I'm going to be doing a full video on, not this Friday, but the following Friday. So right now I am building a probe that I am going to be sending to... what is it? Eve. No, there are not that many mods for KSP2, and I'm actually probably doubtful that there will be many more. The support for KSP2 has been completely shuttered and closed. The only reason I'm still going through it is I want to go through the entire 4Science storyline and document it all down. But once that's done, I'll actually be transitioning back to KSP1 because it has far better modding community. Not to mention, you know, it's actually still got a live community to it. Nah, that's bad. Alright, you have a good night, my dude. And I'm going to go with a medium. This ship's going to be really simple, actually. Stupid simple. Just a couple of high vacuum engines at the top to give me a little bit of extra oomph. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, MKM. At least I'm still streaming. There's something to watch, you know? It's too hot? That's fair. I'm assuming you don't have the option to crank the AC? There we go. Interplanetary relay. Just want to double check that I've got everything I need on here. Yep, we're good to go. adjust these stages before we launch. Make it easier on me. Oof. That is hot. That is very toasty. Alright, here we go. One of the things I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to turn down this engine. I just want it barely to be going up. And it was 20 all day. Ooh. It's been hot this summer over here, too, and I'm not built for the hot. I like the winter. The winter is my best friend, so these summer days are harsh. Very harsh. Yeah, we're getting good engine feed right now. We're accelerating some more, so I'm actually going to throttle down the engine to save a little bit more fuel. Then I live in Wisconsin. It's like one of the most northern states in all of the U.S. The climate is very cold, and I very much like it. Whenever winter comes around and people complain here about the winter, I'm like, that's like 70% of the season some years. Why do you stay here? Ooh, that doesn't sound bad at all. It's so much easier just to throw on a comfy blanket or like some warm, you know, pajama pants and pajama top or like t-shirt than it is to... You can only take off so many layers before you're just indecent. There's only so far you can cope with the heat. With the cold, you just add more layers. And if that doesn't work, then you add soup. It's that simple. See, I'm not... Okay. I like thunderstorms. I'm not a huge fan of, like, the rain in general because it means that I can't go out on the motorcycle. But I like thunderstorms. It's very comforting, very good to sleep to. Rain is okay to sleep to, but the thunder is just so... The downpour, it's just... The harder it's raining, the heavier I sleep. Yeah, this engine is burning great. We're not getting a lot of upward momentum, but that was the whole point. We're gonna go to a high... We're not gonna shoot for 70K either. We're gonna shoot for a higher altitude. It'll cost less left and right motion once we get up there. Physics states it's the same amount of energy, no matter how you get up to the altitude, but it is more optimal with the engines we have. Agreed. I can 100% get behind that logic, MKM. Alright, we're approaching 100K. Now we're going to turn ourselves sideways, because we're high enough in the atmosphere that I'm not worried about much of the drag anymore. And then we're going to boost sideways, just as we did with the other craft, to get ourselves orbital. No, oh, it's got autocorrect still on. It was trying to go to the prograde again, trying to pitch us. Oh, I'm too quiet? Here. How's that? Better? I probably was just talking a little bit quieter too. Mumbling to myself. Apologies. There we go, though. Yeah, so now we're just pitching ourselves, and we're going to try and build up all the momentum we need sideways. We might not even need to use the Xenon engine. Boom. I mean, this thing is really, really light, though. This thing has, like, no payload whatsoever. And since this game doesn't have actual, like, explosives or anything, there's two things that factor into the math for explosions: how much fuel is on board and how big the craft is and how fast it's going, you know, like the actual inertia behind the craft when it collides with something else. Those are the two variables: inertia and the amount of fuel on board, because the fuel, I think, is supposed to like increase the what would it be, the agitation, no, It's supposed to increase the quantity of explosion. The explosive potential of the canister is determined by how much fuel is on it. You're sweating? Turn on the AC. That is my recommendation to you as a friend. We're nearly up to speed. Good. What is an AC? An air conditioning unit. You live in Europe. Oh wait, you live in Europe. They don't have, you guys don't have those as much as we do. So in America, many houses are outfitted not only with a heater, but with an air conditioning system. And what the air conditioning system does is the opposite of the heater. It makes the house colder. Ta-da! Ah, gotcha. I was gonna say, I know for a fact that, like, it's much less common in European countries to have air conditioners, at least in some. I think it has to do, again, with, like, climate. Like you said, in Ireland, it's just always cool. Why would you pay for a centralized air conditioner if you use it once every couple of years, you know, during a big heat wave? A lot of people most likely would rather pay for a window unit in that case. Oh, I need to set my alignments. Well, let's see if we can just brute force it. If we can't brute force it, then I'll pull out the alignments and we'll do that. But looks like we're pretty close already to the window. No, we aren't. Okay. So now that we've gotten up here, what we're going to do is twofold. We're going to extend out our solar panels so that the system can generate power. And we're going to extend out our antennas so that the system always has strong signal. It should always have strong signal while we leave it in orbit up here, but I don't trust anything for anything. Alright, next we're going to the Kerbal Space Center. A fan? A fan blows wind, makes wind. Yes! Fans are great too. I got one next to my bed. Keeps the circulation in the house. I live in an older house, so all the walls are plaster and everything. It's a really tight seal, you know, so having some extra air circulation through the house is very good, very helpful. Alright, we're going to the tracking station. Now, the goal is for this planet to be 50 degrees ahead of Eve. So we're just going to let time pass until this ball is 50 degrees behind this ball. We're getting closer. That's almost there. Again, I'm eyeballing this, so this is a total guess. I'm gonna try that. Just see how that goes. Going to adjust the pitch of this. You were literally outside for 8 minutes today? I don't know if that's enough time. Okay, so we're getting close, but we still need to bring it in, it looks like. Yeah. We still need to bring it in a little bit. We still need to wait a little bit longer. Alright, let's F5 here. That way, in case we need to, we can go back in time to this point in time. And we're going to try and accelerate just a smidge more. Just a tiny touch more, you know? Let's try 10 days. That's a little bit more than 10 days, but let's try that. See how the alignments look that way now. They look better. They look better. That brings them farther apart. No, that brings them farther apart. This brings them closer together. What's our intercept point? Still not good enough. What if I did a secondary burn on my travel? Could I adjust things? We're gonna fiddle with this for a minute and see if I can just get it right. Because even if it costs a whole bunch, I can do it. I've got the fuel, you know? It's just a matter of whether it's feasible in the first place or not. Ooh, what's that? Ooh. That's not bad. But it looks like it'll never happen. I'd have to burn an wait, what was that? No, that was the wrong. Okay. So, let's try starting from scratch. And we start over. You're going to a new school? Ooh. 2 weeks in Ireland. Hot Germany. Oof. It's really that hot in Germany right now? Oof. That's no good. That goes outwards, not inwards. Okay. We need to go this way. So close right there. Look at that. Let's see if we can get that. Let's see if we can just get that. Come on. Come on. Cooperate with me today, please. So close to an intercept point. Come on. This is one of the fun parts about this. This is one of those things that really gets fixed in editing, too. Because finicking with this stuff is always sped up in post. To make it more bearable for everybody but me. Because it's painful for me. It's always painful getting these intercepts right manually. Ugh. Alright, fine. Fine. I'm going to accelerate into the future a little bit more. Try and see if we can get better with another 10 minutes or another 10 days or something. There we go. Sorry about that. I know that didn't look too fancy or nice. I mean, it was 32 plus, and tomorrow should be 28. Oh my gosh, that's hot. My heart goes out to you, fam. That doesn't sound fun at all. I'm sorry. It's very, very... It reminds me of the times I spent in the kitchen. The kitchens were always super hot and super humid. Especially the first one I ever worked in. That one didn't have AC. That was extra hot and extra heat. You can't life. I don't blame you. At that kind of temperature, the main priority should be eating and sleeping. Yay, we got it! Right there! Perfect! Got it. Alright, F5ing right here. But cold winters are great. So, Wisconsin has a very heavy German influence in it, so a lot of the ways that Wisconsinites handle the winter are very German, you know? It starts with a B and ends in an ear. A lot of Wisconsinites are huge fans of sitting out the winters in the pubs. It's not my vibe generally, however, I 100% understand why that's the moves. There's not really anything to do outside. You know, you can go out and make a snow angel and a snow fort and everything once or twice a year, but when it's 70% of the year, most of the time you just want to avoid the cold. Even if you love it, even if, like, I love the cold, and even I will say that, you know, I won't spend the whole day out there. Alright, we're going off to Venus, to Eve. This I always have loved this planet. It was one of the first ones that I managed to get to outside of Kerbal. I also hate it, though. Its gravity is so high and its atmosphere so thick that landing on it is super easy, but taking off again, oh, one of the hardest places in the entire game to take off from. Yep, I got you. Wait, not American football and not soccer. What's the third option then? I didn't know there was a third option, MKM. So, there's soccer, like you mentioned, which is in Europe called football. There is American football, which is, you know, with the weird-shaped ball that's stitched. What's the third football? Because you said it's not soccer and it's not American football. You can't just repeat the word and expect me to understand better. Explain it to me. What's the rules of the game? What does the ball look like? Is it black and white and checkered? Is it a tennis ball? What's the, how does the game work here? Educate me. Oh, you're telling me that the name is not soccer. Well, that depends on where you are. I call it soccer because I'm American. I don't blame you for calling it football. But I'm American, that's what we call it. If we called it all football here, I think it would get mighty confusing. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, I missed it. Okay, I gotta turn around. We're gonna do the slightest adjustment. There we go. Okay. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I did not mean to time warp. Not yet. I'm going to, but first I wanted to see how that looked. Okay. We're gonna warp forward. Cool. Okay. F5. F5, F9 is your best friends, folks. Yeah, if it was just a friendly game, though, the score doesn't matter that much. There we go. We've entered. We got the achievement, but we're going to park around here, too. We're going to take the opportunity to park this craft. And we're going to keep it here around Eve. That's not Eve. That's Eve. That's Gilly. Alright, so we're going to slow ourselves down and bring ourselves into a nice close orbit around Eve. Because the achievement was just getting into Eve's sphere of influence, if I remember right. We're going to transmit all our data. There we go. But you're not doing nothing. You're healing up. You're healing up after a big day yesterday. You know? You put in a check yesterday and now you're cashing it. This is the payback. Nothing's free. Everything costs a little something something. Even if it is just energy and time. Those are still things that are worth something, especially in our limited little lives, you know? Okay, now we're gonna park ourselves I think 10,000 kilometers probably is a good parking altitude. Alrighty. You try again, MKM. I believe in you. You can do this. Sleep is important. Thanks again for dropping in. There we go. Alright. This craft has done its job then. And it has so much extra thrust left in it. You know what? We're going to see how close we can take it to min this. I'm just curious now. How close of an altitude can we get? I also am kind of curious to see how the ion engine works overall. Like, is this build... will it produce more energy than it uses? Or will it end up running its batteries dry, just like all the other ion engine builds I've made? I hope not either. But if it happens, MKM. We'll be around. I hope you can get some sleep too. Bye! Alright. So let's just bring things down a little bit more. Maybe 1,000 kilometers. This is all for giggles at this point. I've already accomplished everything I wanted to with this satellite, but considering all the extra fuel, maybe it'll be a little bit of fun to try it out, you know? What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to drop it down and I'm going to crash the part into Eve. That'll keep space junk down. Oh, it ran out of fuel. Oh, no. Okay, well, we're going to have a piece of space junk flying around then. That's sad. Whatever. Things happen. Oh, this does... Oh, yes. I think this does create more fuel than it burns. It creates more electricity than it burns because of our proximity to the sun. This thing can run forever. This engine can literally run almost forever. Oh, yes. I don't have to do sputtering or pulsing or anything like that. Oh, it is... Oh, it's depleting the tiniest amount. It's a joke. Okay. Oh, wait. I actually... Oh, wait. Where's the... I forget where the atmosphere is at. I think we're about to nick the atmosphere. I gotta flip us around and get us going in the opposite direction a little bit. We're gonna park right around 200K. I didn't think that one through as much, but I was still thinking about trying to crash that engine piece in, but that's not gonna work here. Let's try 250K. Oh, it's so bright here. We're so close to the sun. It's not fast, but it does work. And we got some extra science out of it. That's good. I'll take that as a win right there. Okay. Let's just leave this in stasis right over the beautiful purple ball. Oh, that's so cool. They really did a nice job texturing Eve again in this game. They did good on the visuals. They did good on the music. But the gameplay is where we suffer. Alright, back to Kerbal Space Center. Alright, and then to mission control. Thanks, science. Under pressure, land on Eve with a vessel with 10 Kerbals and return. Oh my gosh. Perform an environmental experiment survey experiment at the oblique impact site on Gilly. Land in the mole hole on mole hole. Okay. More side missions. I mean, I kind of assume that we'd unlock more of them. Launch a vessel with a lander can and perform a crew observation at Cappy Rock. I've got a plan for that, actually. There we go. Okay. I unlocked all the basic aviation stuff. Now we should be able to go to the tracking center, and that will tell us where we're trying to go. Okay. Target's right over there. Gotcha. Okay. We're gonna fly there. We're gonna use a space plane. What was the specific module we had to have on board, they said? That's the wrong button. Mission control. Lander can. Okay. Alright, so we'll put this lander can as one of our components. And what we're going to do is we'll actually turn it into a high-speed component. We'll turn it into a flight cab. I just need a few things. Where is it? Cargo, I believe it is. Yep, here it is. We're going to put that in there. And we're going to put that in there. Cool. We close that up. That's our new control pod. That's just for the Kerbal, though. We're actually going to put a little drone core on the front there so that we've got the proper forward-backwards control. Because the point of perspective does change how the control systems work, so. Then we're going to put a big old methane tank on the back. We're going to hook up another one of these to the rear. And we're going to put some wings on this bad boy. It's a really simple plane, as you can tell. Really, really simple. But it should work out perfectly for our purposes. That should be good. Little stabilizer right there. Like that. And then we're going to put twin intakes on the front. And twin engines on the back. Panthers will work. Cool. And then we're going to put a couple more control surfaces as well as parachutes on this. Because once we get there, we'll most likely just stop midair with parachutes and then land. If we need to, we can roll around a little bit with our landing gear. And ideally, that will do everything we need it to do, so we don't have to do anything more complicated. That looks good. That doesn't. We'll do this instead. No, not floating out in the middle of nowhere, please. Like that. Yeah, alright, alright. Double checking. Oh yeah, we need a control fin on the top. Make sure that we have left-right control of the plane. Cool. Basic plane. Easy, easy. Basic plane. Valentina can take this launch. I'm cool with that. Cool. That should be everything. As long as we have enough fuel, which I think we do. That wasn't everything. I forgot to change launch site. That is done here. Runway 1. Here we go. All right. Now we launch. We don't even need a solar panel or anything on this thing because the engines will pretty much always be lit, and the energy storage will handle any times when they're not lit. Alright, we've got ourselves enough speed. Let's try and pitch. It's not pitching. It's not pitching. Okay, let's try a little trickery here. If I had to guess, one of the wings is fighting us. The stabilizers in the front sometimes have a little bit of trouble. Let's try that. Sometimes the front fins try to push the craft down while the back fins are pushing it up, and it makes it do this little hippity hop. Come on, pull up. Pull up. You can do this. Come on. Come on. Alright. Well, I have a solution for that problem, too. Quick adjustments. First of all, turn off the steering, turn off the friction control. Turn off the auto-adjust steering. No steering angle. No steering response. Full braking power, though. Yeah, front and back should have the same braking power. If not a little bit less in the front. Alright. That'll do something. Then the other thing I want to do is I want to pull this out and remove one of these and replace it with a control wheel. Should give us more control of the craft, even if it does phase into things a little bit. There. Hopefully that doesn't explode. Seems stable so far. Good. Hey, that wasn't perfect, but we got up. We got up. That's good. That's all we need. We're going to retract our gear and get up to a proper cruising altitude. Then we'll set our tracking. There we go. Alright, tracking time. No, don't set the target for Kerbal. Well, that's not helpful. Where's our positioning right now in comparison? Okay, we need to go straight and a little bit down. So we're going to spin and pitch. We're just going to go on a nice little plane ride for a little while. Nice, calming little plane ride. If anybody's got any questions about me, about KSP, anything like that, now would probably be a great time to throw them in chat, by the way. We're going to be flying for a little bit like this. Going all the way up to space and then coming back down would be faster, but not nearly as unique as the first space plane launch in this save, so I'm preferring this. Well, it looks like we've got a stable altitude. Not fully stable on speed just yet, but that's fine. 3,000 meters gives us plenty of slack, so I'm going to pitch us a little bit. We'll stop going up as much, and we'll keep on going nice and fast across. If we can get above Mach 1, the whole thing will probably run more efficiently, so we'll see how that goes overall. Otherwise, we're just going to kind of play between 2,000 and 5,000 meters and just fly. We've already traveled a little bit of distance. Our final destination is that yellow circle right there. We'll make it. We should make it just fine. I'm almost tempted to turn on afterburners, but that's not really worth it yet. I don't want to burn out all of my fuel on the first quarter of the trip. This does give me nostalgia, though. One of the things KSP1 had as well was a bunch of areas where you could like fly nearby with temperature scans and stuff like that. And normally the places would be too far apart, like launching a rocket and then countering gravity and moving yourself laterally, north, south, east, or west just didn't make sense. But if you got a plane, you could fly through all of the sites. I remember spending hours doing that before I figured out a lot of the interplanetary physics and whatnot, you know, just scrounging up money in science by staying on the home planet. It wasn't the most interesting of gameplay loops, but it definitely worked, and it made me a lot better at planes. One thing I'll say about KSP1's game loop as a whole was it was much harder and a lot more clunky, but it forced you to learn a lot more. Time to pitch the craft down a little bit. There we go. We're falling a little bit, but we'll just pitch back up in a minute or two. If this was actually a space plane and its real intention was to go to space, what I would actually do off the launch pad or off the runway is I would just pitch the craft about somewhere between 20 and 25 degrees. Normally the sweet spot is like 21, 22, depending on the weight of the craft. And you just pitch yourself and slowly incline all the way up. I've had a couple of crafts where you pitch yourself high up and then down again, and then you ride it all the way up. The reason for that being you use the first hill climb to get yourself a bunch of an energy and inertia behind you, and when you fall back down to earth, you end up going higher speeds. Those higher speeds can make certain engines burn more efficiently, so that on the second arc back upwards, you actually end up adding even more energy, and you end up being able to escape atmosphere on that second arc instead of the first. But those are the two big ways. The slow steep, or the slow incline that just goes straight up instead of the steep pitch and drop is way more efficient. So most of the time it looks very similar to this. It's just you're pitched, 20 degrees higher up, and you have engines that can burn both methylox and methane. This engine can only burn methane mixed with oxygen from the air, so if we tried to go up into space, we would end up just not having any thrust behind us at all. The engines would just start spitting out gas, and in real life, obviously, they just do nothing in the game. But yeah, we've got ourselves a nice little cruising speed, and we're making distance. Nice little plane flight. One thing I will say that's a downside of the planes is that their engines are loud. Their engines are pretty loud. But one of the other nice things is that as we burn fuel, our weight will get lighter, and as we get lighter, we'll get more fuel back, or more speed back, rather. This probably isn't the craft's true top speed. This is probably just the craft's top speed while fully weighted down with fuel. Probably has a higher speed number, but we won't know until we burn through a decent portion of this fuel, but I gave it more space than it needed. I tend to do that with space planes that aren't meant to leave the surfaces, or leave the atmosphere, rather. When they're not designed to leave the atmosphere, it doesn't hurt to add a little bit of extra weight. If it makes it a little bit sluggish in the early part of the journey, it also guarantees that it'll reach the destination it's going for. I'm happy I got to do this stream, though. Like I said, a lot of my KSP2 videos are pretty heavily edited to keep the drag down because there's a lot going on, and normally the missions are hour plus. But it's cool to show, or I like to show how the sausage is made, and at least show, you know, this is all how it's done. This is what it takes. This is how long it takes. Obviously, all my missions aren't successes on the first launch. Practice makes perfect, though, so I probably have a higher success rate than most on first launch. But that's also, you know, post, what, 2,000 hours in both games combined? Many games. Most games, the more practice you get, the better off you are with them. But I like being able to show the unedited version of how this all goes about, you know? Because even with the editing, it's not easy. It doesn't look easy, I don't think. While I've been talking, we've been gaining quite a bit of altitude. We've only lost about 10 meters per second in speed as well, which is good. I'll probably let us gain another 1,000 meters of altitude, and then I'll pitch us down a little bit more. Pick up a little bit more surface speed, and, you know, keep her going. We can't get too high, otherwise we'll lose all of our fuel. We need to be in the dense part of the atmosphere. Too much altitude, and we will end up without anything to burn in the engines. And then we'll fall. We'll just drop like a rock. I might be able to regather us and keep us going if we end up back in, back in the oxygenated atmosphere, but that really depends on the ship's roll and how much fuel I have left for electricity, as well as how much time I have left before we hit something. But off we zoom. We're gonna make it. I'm pretty confident about that now. I think our pitch is good. I think our angle is good. I think we'll make it. We've burned through a fifth of our fuel, but like I said, as we get rid of the weight, our fuel will burn more efficiently because it doesn't need to push as much forward. So we've actually only gone through, that's 12. A 12th of our Delta V. Something like that. There we go, though. We're going to pitch ourselves down a little bit because we're starting to bleed out a little bit on speed. Just a little pitch. Get ourselves some momentum. Like I said, if we could get above supersonic, which is 330 something, I think. Not gonna lie, I never checked to see if this game has supersonic speed at the same speed as real life, so I don't know whether that's accurate or not, but it's right around the 330s, 340s that the engines will end up picking up a bunch more efficiency, because Panthers and Ramjets and there's another one, all three of them get better efficiencies at higher speeds, while a lot of the normal engines end up getting higher efficiencies at slower speeds. But we'll see. We're picking up speed right now. We might get into the 300s before I pitch us back up again. But as soon as we pitch back up, we'll also bleed a bunch of the speed, so we gotta generate more. We'll see. We got time. Valentina's a good pilot. I trust her. Looks like we're about a 6th. Yeah, I'd guess about a sixth of the way there. I think we might be maxing out at 282. We might have a drag problem. Well, not terminal velocity, but we might be getting too much aero drag. The wings might be too wide, or the surface area of this craft might be too much with not enough thrust, something like that. So it looks like we're not able to get above 282. It also might be the density of the atmosphere. We might be better off if we go to higher atmosphere in the midsection, but that also creates a longer distance for us to travel. You know what, though? I'm going to let us pitch back up, and I'm going to let us go up to about, I don't know, 8K. I'll let us build some altitude. See if we get better performance up there with this craft. Because I've built a lot of crafts similar to this one, but I've obviously never built anything identical to this. Might just end up with better efficiencies at a slightly higher altitude, which would be nice. Looks like we just are about to start peaking back up again. Yep. Altitude gaining. Cool. Because the other thing is that as we get up into that thinner atmosphere, we'll get less drag. We'll also get less air into the ramjets, unless we end up going faster. If we go faster, then we can gobble up more air per second, even in the lower densities. Worst case scenario, we end up at those altitudes, we end up not gathering a bunch of speed, and I end up pitching the craft down and turning down the engines a little bit to conserve fuel, and we convert all of that upward momentum we made into some lateral momentum via some more gliding. Boo-hoo, world's smallest violin, please. We're not losing that much momentum though. This should be clean. Should be good. And we burned through about a sixth of the fuel now. I'm pretty confident we'll make it there. I'm pretty confident. If we get the higher ISPs from the higher altitudes, I'm definitely confident we'll make it there, but even without them, we should. Alright, let's climb. I don't know how high we can climb. We're bleeding off inertia right now. I can see it. We're not gaining speed, we're losing speed, but we're also about to hit one of the thinner pockets of atmosphere. This bar right down here, this shows us where we are. This bottom bar, thickest part of the atmosphere. This middle section, thinner. Thinnest. Right around here, engines won't really run anymore. And then at the top of here is the 70K, and that's where space truly starts. Everything below this is still, there's some atmosphere, enough that you can't orbit properly. Drag gets you. But yeah, let's see if we can hit 8K, and then see how cruising around 8K does for us. Because I'm kind of hoping it gives us that little extra oomph. If we get to 200 meters per second or slower, though, I'm going to pitch the craft down immediately. I don't want the craft going slower than 200 meters per second. That's pretty close to half Mach, and a half Mach is not good because we need to keep going forward, otherwise we will burn out all our fuel. Not gonna lie, we're getting a little, as we get closer, I'm getting a little bit worried about fuel conservation, but that's why we're doing this test. See if we can't get a little bit more out of it this way. You also all see why I don't use space planes for everything. They're definitely slow. They're cool. There's a couple of things I love doing with them, like building small little stations out of, 4 or 5 little packages I launch via SSTO, which stands for Single Stage to Orbit. Space planes are a great example of single stages to orbit, as they don't drop anything, there's no tanks drop, there's no engines drop, there's nothing lost besides the fuel burned to get you there, which makes them, obviously, significantly cheaper. If only money was a thing in KSP2. Then they would be incentivized even heavier, like they were in KSP1. Also, if I remember right, they were added later. They weren't originally in the game. They added the pad, the runway, and the assembly building later on. One of the reasons why they needed a separate assembly building in KSP1 for space planes instead of rockets. While in KSP2, you can build both of them in the VAB, the vehicle assembly building. Alright, we're pitching down. We got below 200 meters per second, and I don't like that. We're going to lose a little bit of altitude and gain a little bit of momentum. Keep ourselves above 200 meters per second. Because if we just let ourselves continually go up, losing speed, eventually we'll hit stall. And stall is extra bad. That's when we start falling. If you've ever seen an air show, one of the tricks that they do is they pull planes purposefully into stalls. And then they recover them because they're professionals. It's not an easy feat. Especially, I can't even imagine when you actually experience, the forces and the discombobulation of feeling weightless and then falling and all that fun stuff. This is just a simulation, and it's hard enough on its own. We're building up speed, and we're not dropping that heavily in altitude. The thinner atmosphere might be helping us a bit with that. Or it might just be wishful thinking. We are making distance, though. Let's do it. We're gonna make it there, hopefully. I think that would be a nice way to end off the stream overall. It'll probably take another 20, 30 minutes to go. Whoa. The thing just stopped working for a second. Anyways, it would be nice to land there, finish that, turn in the science. Hey, Aki, welcome to the stream. We're flying a space plane out to the yellow marker there. It's not a space plane, it's more like a normal plane, but It's a plane made out of space parts. But we're just having a nice little leisurely ride. I'm yapping. One of the important pillars of YouTubers, yapping. And I'm hoping that I have enough fuel to do this, because I'm a little bit worried that I don't have enough fuel to get all the way there. Thanks. We're losing a little bit of momentum, but we're gaining altitude again, and I want to see if we can get up to an even higher altitude, because we might end up with even better engine efficiencies up there. So yeah, we're gonna try and raise our altitude just a little bit. I really want to get into that second colored blue bar here. Not this, not the uncolored base atmosphere area. That would be impossible. But like right here, this might be the sweet spot. Because that's just all star pattern. Now that kind of confuses me, because like I said, that's not space yet. You have to get above all of this on the meter to get to space. But this blue section, that's what I want. Those altitudes should help. If I had gone up to that cruising altitude at the start, I might have gone faster, but who knows. At this point, it's too late to second guess it. We're just going to see what we can do. Oh, that was funny. The number ticked up really, really fast, but it wasn't because we actually went any steeper. It's because we hit like a hill or something down there. And so it made the altimeter go weird for a minute. When you're not flying over the ocean, yeah, it just did it again because we hit a stretch of this. So it hit a slope that was going downwards, and it's like, oh, you're actually 10 meters higher off the ground than you were 5 seconds ago. Yeah, that's not because we actually went up 10 meters, it's because the ground fell 10 meters. You know what? Give me the sea level. The sea level will be more accurate. Stop giving me ground level. We'll read off of sea level instead. It's more dangerous to do this when you're closer to the ground, because obviously then it won't account for mountains. You can't sleep, MKM, I'm sorry. Well, you can listen to the calming sounds of 2 jet engines roaring. It's just so wondrous sounding, you know? It's great. I'm optimistic about our prospects of reaching the marked point. I'm just going to give us the slightest touch of downward. Oh, that's a lot of pitch. Okay, there we go. And that should get us going even faster. You thought it was static from my mic? No, that's the engines. My mic is too nice to have static. I got like 3 different filters on this thing to make sure that it comes through crispy clean for you guys. Yeah. Yeah, I know those vibes, MKM. Fair, Aki. Yeah, no, that's the engines. If we hit M, it goes really, really quiet. It's still in the background there, but yeah, that's the engines. Sorry about that, I can't make them any quieter. I can balance the game audio and make the whole game quieter, but... The soothing sounds of 2 jet engines, 2 Panther engines. If I put them into afterburner mode, they get worse. Then go get a big glass of water. I'm not going to put them in afterburner mode because I'm trying to save fuel. But if I put them in afterburner mode, it would be terrible. It looks like I might be wishfully thinking. It might be only a quarter of the way, but that looks almost like a third. It's hard to tell because the planet's a sphere. Ah. Well, then just be very sneaky, MKM. Very sneaky. But I really hope we make it with this. If we don't make it with this, I'm going to be a little bit mildly salted. Gotta roll for stealth. Aki gets it. I believe in you, MKM. Nat 20s all the way down the hall. Nobody can blame you for getting water. The basic human need. Speaking of which, while this thing flies, I'm going to take a quick hydration check. Be right back. Get caught, MKM? Good work. I was saying, too, water is a basic human need. I don't think anybody can blame you for getting it. They'd blame you for being too loud and waking them up, which is also a basic human need to sleep. But if you're sneaky, everybody wins. People get to keep sleeping, you get your water. Thing got cut off by chat right there, but I'm assuming it's good. I'm really hoping we can gain enough altitude to get to like 8K, but I doubt it. We keep on losing surface speed below 200 meters per second when we get above 7K-ish. It's just not acceptable. We need to be moving fast. You know what? I'm gonna F5. And if we can't get above 7K this time, I might let us stall out and then just coast for a while on the momentum we have. You know, just fly. Cold, yeah, have some cold water. Yes. Cold water is fantastic. I keep a big quart glass right next to my computer when I'm doing these streams. I mean, I have it all week, but I fill it up before stream starts, and by the end of stream, it's all gone. I probably drink at least 3 or 4 of them a day, which is good. Like I said, not a huge fan of soda or anything like that. I just drink a lot of water. And since I'm a gamer, I mix that in with whole milk. I like to think that the vitamin D helps with the fact that I don't see the sun as much. I like to think that. But those are the main drinks of the house. A fridge in your room? I mean, they're alright, but you gotta keep in mind it'll make the room hotter. Where do you think all the heat in the box goes? Into the room. Sounds like you just need a really big vacuum flask or something like that, you know? Something that'll keep the temperature good, and you can just fill it up once. 13 a.m., a whole stack of water, a whole 64 waters, or a whole 16 waters? How does water stack for you? Minecraft jokes. 16 waters, gotcha. Well, that's a little bit less efficient per inventory. You know what? We're going to take it. We're going to try and get above 8K with this. We're so close. We're going to drop in speed, but we're going to try for it. We're nearing halfway on our tanks and everything, and we are not halfway there. Are we fighting against the spin of the planet? I just thought about that. No. Are we? I don't think so. I'm trying to think about it now. I don't think we're fighting against the spin of the planet. At least I hope not. That would be really bad. Okay. We're gonna get a little bit more altitude, and then I'm just gonna touch us down the slightest bit. Just the slightest dip. Phone, spare money, 64 clothing. Hey man, that's a lot of clothing. That'll last you quite a while. That's a really efficient stack size. His sleepiness is getting to him, I can tell, but makes it easier to get him to laugh. Yeah, we are nerds. This is a gaming channel. What did you expect? It's a gaming channel where I'm literally showing off a rocket science game. Definitely a channel for nerds. It's a channel for everybody, but I feel like I have a certain appeal. Pitch down. Oh, that was way too hard of a pitch down. Pitch up. Pitch up. Pitch up. That's really far down. Pitch up. I feel like we lost engine pressure or something there for a second. We're going to turn off the gimbal on these. We're just going to control ourselves via wings. You know what? I'm going to turn down the engines. I'm going to pitch us up a little bit so that we glide more. And we're just going to glide down in altitude. Turn down the engines and just glide for a while. A nice calm little glide. We're gonna drop like a stone though without any engine power, I just noticed. So we'll turn them on at half. Alright, that's not working. So new plan. New plan. Accelerate. The game doesn't want this ship going above Mach 3. Well, above Mach 1. We're going to try and force it to go above Mach 1. We're going to jam as much air into the rams as we can through the thick part of the atmosphere. And then once we're going real fast, we'll try and pitch the craft up. Come on, high speed, high speed. Come on. High speed, come on. This is going to make it harder to pitch up, but maybe, just maybe it'll get us going fast enough. We got a decent speed, but that was nothing to write home about. Kaboom! I wish that would solve the problem. If I could do air refueling, I mean, if this thing ran out of fuel, air refueling would solve the problem, but I don't think that that's how this is going to go. It does look like the reduced weight of the craft is giving us a new top speed of about 10 meters per second faster, but drag still seems to be holding us down. Your brain isn't... I don't blame you. 3 a.m. is not a time for the brain to be braining very good. I should know. I do a lot of projects that last until... Last Thursday, I was working from 7 to 7 with Nighty on a project. 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. My brain was not braining by the end. She had to repeat everything to me like twice. That woman has so much patience. Go subscribe to Night Owl MC. She's awesome. She also just posted a brand new video, and it's fire. How far are we now? Halfway? A little bit less than halfway? What is this? What do you mean? Oh no, this is the main planet, like Earth, but it's the analog for Earth, but it's nighttime. It's nighttime. We're on the dark side of the planet. So we're just flying at night. That's why you can see the stars in the upper section, but you can't see anything lower. That's ground. It's dark ground. I'm flying by altimeter. This is the predominant thing that's telling me where I am between this and my position on the globe. Can't fly by ground. I'm in the EU. Yeah, we're flying. Yeah. Dark side of the planet. I'm a lot more south, though. I think this would be more Africa, right? These continental bodies are not the same. But if they were, I feel like this would be more Africa. It's very south. Europe would be like up here, no? And like this would be Africa. And then Asia would be like, woo. Yeah, it's very dark. It's what happens when there's no sun. Where's the moon? Do we even get to see the moon? The moon is not out. I don't know where the moon is right now. It's over there. It's behind us. Yeah, we can't even see the moon, so there's no moonlight. Literally a black hole. I wouldn't disagree with that analysis. Moon is not mooning. Correct. Oh, I really hope we have enough fuel to make it there. I'm very worried. I'm very worried. If we don't make it, we don't make it, but I would prefer to end this with a success. Granted, the Eve mission was very cool too. And this is a great demo of how planes, space planes and planes, plane, but without the moon mooning. See, you can actually see right over here, just a little bit, the shoreline. This is ocean, and then this is shoreline, and then above that you can see some land. It's very dark, but there is some stuff that can be made out on the horizon lines on occasion. No, I'm gonna crash, no! See, if I run out of fuel, all I do is I just pop the parachutes and extend the landing gear and turn on the brakes. And I'll land. I just won't land at my target, which is the whole point of this mission, is get to target. How will I land? I mean, like I said, if I land over a body of water, that's really easy. I could actually land... Well, no, there's water below me. I would just glide, slow down a bunch, and then right as I'm about to hit the water, deploy my parachutes, getting rid of my last bits of momentum, and hitting the water at like 6 meters per second, you know? And then I would coast forward a little bit on the water, and then the craft would come to a stop. I'm flying over Earth, yeah, well, Kerbal, but the Earth analog, just like how the moon here isn't called the moon, it's called the mun. This is Kerbal in the Kerbal system. The sun is called Kerbal. But yeah, same diff. We're flying. I just hope we make it. What do you mean, WTH? You don't like flying? Oh yeah. Kerbal, all of the Kerbals, and then the actual little people are called Kerbals. So Kerbal, the system, is spelled with an O, the people are spelled with an A, and then all of their last names for the most part are Kerman. Yeah. Kerbal Space Program, man. The Kerbal system, which has Kerbin, and on it live Kerbals. Most of them named Kermin. It's almost a Smurf thing, but that's pretty much the entire joke there. Like, you know, they don't have it, they don't... There's a couple of engines that are named, and there's a couple of companies like Kerbadyne, but those are more just references to real-life companies. Try not to laugh at 3 a.m. challenge. Stifle it. No fun allowed. It's too late. One of the things I kind of regret is I could have drained the oxidizer from these two tanks, because they have both liquid fuel and oxidizer in them, and it would have made the whole craft lighter. Maybe gotten me a little bit more distance out of it. Hindsight's being 2020 because this flight is longer, and because I'm worried I'm not gonna make it. Very worried I'm not gonna make it. Also gonna run out of stream time soon, which is no good. My streams go for 3 hours a pop, and I don't want to overshoot that by too long just to not make it in the first place either, so I'll have to come up on a decision point in about 15 minutes. Oh, I remember conversations like that. I remember conversations like that. It's funny, you look back on them fondly in a couple of years. I know a lot of people say that about a lot of things, but I was a very weird sleeper in my teen years, and I spent a lot of nights very late staying up. Late night TV. Back then, you know, video games required like a full-fledged machine, especially since I didn't play Xbox or anything like that when I was younger because they didn't have cloud. So I ended up watching a lot of late night TV and some Flash games, and that was most of it. Then I got into like getting Minecraft and trying to figure out ways to get Minecraft to work on laptops and stuff like that, because back in the day that was even more of a trudge. I watched a lot of late night anime, especially when I got my phone. I mean, that's when I originally got introduced to anime, was the Toonami anime block on Cartoon Network on Saturday nights. That is pure nostalgia right there. Absolutely love Toonami. Oh my gosh, yeah, I got introduced to so many of my favorite anime through Toonami. What's your favorite anime that you've seen recently, MKM? Well, he types out his answer. I'll tell y'all mine. It's Psycho Pass. Psycho Pass is my favorite anime of almost all time, I would say, and it's definitely my favorite anime of the 2010s. Absolutely amazing. JJK or Death Note, those are both pretty darn solid. Death Note is a classic one. That one was super popular when I was younger because I think it was still coming out. If I'm remembering correctly. Jujutsu Kaisen has been an absolute ride, and I am loving it. I'm a little bit worried about Season 3, because the direction of the storyline they've taken is super duper exciting, but I've also seen it done quite a few times, so I'm a little bit concerned that it might be either derivative or maybe lackluster. I have not watched through all of One Piece. I don't think I can do that. I've been watching, I watch, obviously, Moist Critical on occasion from time to time, and Charlie has been trying to watch One Piece again, and he says that he really likes it, but, like, there's just so much... Oh, you read the whole manga of JJK. Okay. Do you think that the third season's going to be good then, based on the content that you've read from it? Because I'm awaiting with bated breath, but I've also been getting really good at, like, being cautiously... Oh, it is? Okay. Because I've been getting cautiously optimistic with a lot of that stuff, because I heard that... I haven't watched it yet, but I heard that the latest arc of Demon Slayer was a letdown. Which shocked me, because Demon Slayer was, you know, hype for a long time. I never was fully on the hype wagon, but, like, I got it, and it made sense, but... Apparently, it's... I've heard, I have not seen it. Yeah, I heard the latest arc of Demon Slayer was not as great. I might be totally wrong about this, as I haven't seen any of it, but I heard that might not be the one. It might have been the previous arc then. I haven't heard of Infinity. That doesn't ring a bell for me. I might be behind in my news too. I don't keep up with Demon Slayer news. I should. I'm a YouTuber. I should keep up with this stuff a little bit more, but that might... Yeah, the Hashira training arc sounds right. That might be the one that I heard was a letdown. Because I heard about the Swordsmith Village, and I don't remember what the opinion was on that one, and I remember about hearing about the Hashira training arc. Because the last one I watched was the Red Light District arc. That was the last one that I watched. And that was pretty good. I just, you know, the gap between seasons. The gap between seasons got me. That's what it boils down to. Oh, we are so far away still. Have you been keeping up with it, MKM? What's your take on it overall? What's your opinion on Demon Slayer, like, as a whole? Because I know some people were disappointed by that one season, and I probably should go watch it and figure out what season they were talking about, because, you know, I obviously don't have enough intel on it, but, you like it? Alright, because, like, the first two seasons were good. I just got distracted by other stuff. You know what I thought was interesting that I saw, that I kind of am hoping to see the third season of at some point, is Fire Force. I liked Fire Force probably for similar reasons I liked Soul Eater, and I liked Soul Eater because it was one of the first anime I ever watched through. Hey, welcome to the stream, Monkey. Yeah, I streamed for just about 3 hours roughly, so I've got about 10 minutes left. I'm reaching the point where I'm kind of doubtful we're going to reach my destination that I was hoping for. I'm trying to hit that yellow circle right there. And we've been flying for the last 40 minutes, and don't think we're going to hit it, unfortunately. But, you know, we've had plenty of successes already today. Ah. Gotcha. But yeah, there's been a lot of decent anime. I still think Psycho Pass is the best anime of all time, at least from what I've seen in total. I've seen a lot of anime. Another great one that came out more recently would be Dr. Stone. Actually, a little bit of a detail here that hasn't been covered entirely in the lore yet, but anybody listening gets to hear it. That is actually kind of the thing I was going for in my intro episode in Regality SMP. I kind of spawned in with, you know, nothing besides some andesite alloy, and that alloy was supposed to be like the scale around me, because that's how Dr. Stone starts out. Is a guy just starts out with nothing but essentially a shell that was, you know, encasing him previously, and then he started like technology developments and starting to recreate the world and everything with science. I love that anime. And considering my create mod and everything else, I thought it would be cool to do a sort of homage to that in the early episode of Regality SMP, the first episode. So that's a little bit of behind-the-scenes lore on my intro. Don't know if I'm gonna find other people encased in stone, and then that will lead me down the conclusion that that's how I started or how I'm gonna do that story exactly. But yeah, that's a little bit of a reference to an anime that I love in some of my content. When I really, really like something, I definitely like to homage it respectfully, you know? Not take the idea, but respectfully homage it, and it's good. I think a lot of great media does that. Built, you know, we all walk on the backs of giants. Now I'm getting all meta with it. Sorry, though. You think the 3rd season is out on Netflix and Swordsmith Village is the 4th season. Gotcha. Yeah. I need to catch up on Demon Slayer. That's what I'm hearing. That way I can develop my own opinion. Because I don't know enough about Demon Slayer right now. It's been too long. Alright, we're going to try and pick up some speed. We've gained some altitude now, so maybe we can actually get ourselves going nice and fast. Dr. Stone? Yeah, that is the one where the Earth... So, I don't want to give away spoilers, but everybody on Earth gets turned to stone one day, and they remain in statue form for thousands of years. During this time, the Earth essentially resets, you know? Plants regrow, everything takes hold again. Almost all vestiges of human civilization are completely gone, and there are just these statues in place. And then one day, one dude named Senku wakes up, and that ignites the entire series, is him trying to rebuild civilization with science. And it's awesome. It's great. Every now and again, I jokingly say to my friends, get excited, and that's from that anime. It's something he said all the time. He'd be like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna go create a light bulb. Get excited. That was his thing, and I loved his energy in that. I'm not gonna lie, his character's a little bit pompous for me, but I do love the storytelling, and I love that anime. It's good. It's very good. It's actually worse than that. Like, Roman ruins, at least, still are above ground. Most of the stuff we see in the media, everything's rusted away. It's literally like buildings are now dust. It's not even like they're buried or, you know, the bricks have been moved. They just don't the materials no longer are in one place. They are instead just scattered to the sands of time. We gotta craft a nuke to get excited. You know what? If this mission doesn't work, and I'll call it, this mission isn't gonna work. Okay, you know what? You know what, MKM? I'm gonna build you. We're gonna build an ICBM. Kind of. Kind of. We're gonna do this. I got a plan here. This is how we're gonna accomplish this mission. We're gonna build a orbital drop device. How about we call it that? How does that sound? Yeah, that's how we'll end out today's stream. So I need to get a payload bay that can hold it. I guess that'll work. Because I don't want this exposed. Savage Destroyer? Alright. I'll make this extra good for you, okay? Wait until you see what I've got planned. I've got a plan here. I've got ideas. That is true, Monkey, but I also feel like sometimes we misunderstand how that stuff would end up being distributed, and also how a lot of that stuff would work. Also, I was talking about this earlier on stream, but this week, there was actually tests just done on a new reactor design that passively cools itself in case of failure. They're called pebble bed reactors, and I am super excited to see where they go. MKM, stop it. You've asked me that question before. I don't want to have that discussion today. And also, that's not the first time I've heard that before. Like, that's been brought up a couple of times in the recent years. That problem started in, like, 2019, so we don't need to discuss it right now because it's already been a problem and nobody's been discussing it already. Until people start discussing it, we don't need to discuss it here. This is a gaming channel, not a news channel like that. I just like to talk about scientific developments every now and again because they get me excited, and I like to get excited. Yeah, I did say thousands of years, but the thing is that what I mean is that most of the time, a lot of that stuff would still end up pretty localized, you know? It's not like a lot, like, Chernobyl style, oh, I don't want to comment on that stuff on stream. How do I say this? Large critical events, normally, especially at those scales, they do disperse some contaminants into the wide area, but a lot of it is localized, okay? There's a reason why the non-exclusion zone around that place is as small as it is today. It's not humongous, you know? And to be fair, a lot of life has already returned to that region. It's just that we've still declared it uninhabitable for humans, which is fair, but, you know, it doesn't mean... I also, like... How do I put this? It's also just an anime. If it degrades in that kind of, if it degrades unsafely, I would agree. But also, a lot of those things just become inert as they degrade. I'm not saying all of them, definitely not all of them, but a lot of the devices, they actually just like. There's a good guess. I've heard this theory before that there's a decent amount of the arsenal that just doesn't work because they've degraded, you know, and nobody's noticed yet. Because the half-life, a lot of that stuff is like hundreds of years, you know? Like the RTGs on board both of the interstellar probes and on board like is Curiosity in it? One of the rovers on Mars has an RTG on board. They have 50 years of half-life to them and then they'll be depleted. In thousands of years, they're probably just going to be argon gas. If I had to take a guess. Okay, I'm gonna finish this. So we're gonna build the cap. No, that's not right. That's how the shell's gonna look. Cool, okay. So this is the slug that we're going to attempt to put where we want. We're going to put a small control thruster there. And then we are going to put this in a... Or we're going to put this as a payload on board something. And then we're just going to make a normal engine stack from here on. Very normal. Now, this might not look... Yeah, it looks special. I made it look a little bit unique for you, but I actually have a secret trick in play for this for you that will make it look... Or that makes it extra effective, let's say. Extra effective. Alright, hopefully this will get up in the first orbit. It should. It should. I've got a little trick up my sleeve with this. You'll like it. That's fair. That's fair. I mean... I think it would really depend on what country you're in as well. Different countries have way different disposal standards. Like, I would much more prefer to be in a European country and have that happen than, say, America. Because America's disposal techniques keeps most things above ground, while most of Europe's stuff is deep beneath the deep slate, you know? And the main point of the show takes place in Japan. So I'm not 100% sure how that would play out, because we've already had similar situations happen in the 21st century. So I'm not 100% sure how well that would go for everybody. Because I'm just thinking about reactors now, not even arsenals. If we consider that all arsenals are in vaults and are... Yeah, it is incoming. And then we're going to pitch ourselves this way. Our target is in this direction. Nope, this direction. I was wrong. No, don't pitch so hard. No! No, it's gonna spin out of control. Do not spin out of control, you beast. Do not. Go upwards. Oh, it's doing it again. Okay. That's true. However, in the anime, it's a beautiful natural scape that has been completely reclaimed by nature and lions. Yes, you heard me. Lions. Yeah, we completely spun out of control on that first launch. They experienced 2, and then they also experienced an event with, you know, in modern times, a reactor issue. Let's call it that. That was extremely avoidable, though, and made me very sad when I finally read, like, the information on how that happened and everything. Those have also been completely sterilized. Like, they've been completely cleaned and scrubbed. I will say, though, that the impact on the people who lived there was not as easy to reverse. It was not nearly as peachy for them. Alright, we'll go about 10 minutes over on stream to make sure that we can do this. I'm really hoping that this solution is the one that works out for us. I mean, that's another point, though, like, Monkey, even if the devices were to degrade in a dangerous way, most of those contaminants are still purgeable in, what, 200, 500 years? Like, unless it's like a cobalt device or another dirty device, and as far as I know, those have only been theorized. I really hope that they stay only theoretical, but unless it's like one of those dirty devices, from my understanding, most of them do burn pretty cleanly. So if they were to, first of all, most of those devices have triggers on them that are impossible to accidentally detonate, you know? They are literally earthquake proof. But even if they were to like falsely detonate after not being managed, most well, I mean, you gotta understand the history. It's one of those cliche statements. Those who don't understand history are doomed to repeat it, or whatever, you know? Like, you gotta know where we come from and understand the stuff. But like, most of those devices, don't they burn pretty cleanly, Monkey? Doesn't that kind of defeat the statement of what you're saying? I'm talking about, like, you know, thermonuclear devices and other similar things. Don't they burn pretty darn cleanly unless they're specifically designed to be dirty? Most of them, if I remember right, they have half-lives, like, for their contaminants between 50 and 200 years. If the world's being reset for thousands of years, then most of those contaminants would have already decayed into argon, you know, or other gases that aren't as dangerous. I could have swore. All right, catch you later, MKM. Sorry you're gonna miss the landing. I could have sworn that they burned fairly cleanly, but that might just be me being been a while since I've read anything on the stuff. I don't know, 3 minutes? I'm about to orbitalize, and then I'm just going to wait until the line crosses over the target zone, and then I deorbitalize, and then I break the ship into parts so that we strike more than one location. That's my surprise to you. We're going to land the little pod, but everything else is just going to scatter, and we're going to have 3 different pieces of shrapnel hitting the ground. That's my gift to you, sir. Actually, it looks like we're going to have 4 pieces. So even better. Alright, now we just need to wait for everything to line up. Gotta wait for the globe to spin a little bit. I do think we have a sharp enough pitch, though. We'll be able to land there. Yeah, this will be the last task we do today for the stream, and then we will close it out, considering it a resounding success, with all the research we need ready to go for Tylo's next mission, which will be coming out not this Friday, but the following Friday. And then tomorrow you all get the opportunity, you're all going to get a new Gmod video. The project I've been working on in Minecraft on Regality has been really, really big, and need a little bit more time to get everything edited out properly, but it'll be good. So that'll be coming out next Monday. Should be solid. Alright, the circle's almost all the way around now, and then we're gonna deorbit, and we're gonna land, crash, both. We'll do both at the same time, roughly. We'll probably watch everything else crash into the surface from the safety of a couple hundred meters off the ground. Just gotta keep circling a little bit. It's too bad it only gives us this as our maximum speed, but it does make things a little bit easier to watch, I guess. It also looks like we're going to be landing on the dark side. It'll be harder to land there. Not impossible, though. Definitely not impossible. We'll do one more cycle, and then we'll set ourselves up for landing. One more, actually. It's moving slower than expected because it's nearby one of the poles. Get things a little bit closer, and we will be ready to go. There we go. Alright. I'm going to create a maneuver plan, and we're going to target this bad boy. There are a lot of memes around it. KSP2 has also been, I'm not going to lie, a little bit of a letdown. Little bit of a letdown overall. There we go. Alright. We're going to set ourselves to our target point. And we're going to get things going. We're going to adjust our trajectory, land right over top it, and then we'll cut all of our all of our side-to-side inertia. And that'll get us dropping like a stone right over it. Right over the target site. There we go. A little bit more for the prediction because time's going to pass. There we go. Good. All right. We got this. This might be one of the longer streams that I've ever done, too. Good stuff. Fun stuff. 3, 2, 1, go. And now we just wait a minute. Hopefully I can get us all the way down just on this engine. It'll give us another part to drop. The more parts we drop, the more boom boom that MKM's gonna get, because that's what he wants. And he's been the most talkative today, so I'm happy to oblige. Turn a little bit sharper. We're gonna get rid of that, and we're gonna do this on manual now. F5. There we go. What's my altitude right now? 101, gotcha. Alright, let's try and get, I don't know, here. We've got enough fuel that I'm going to try and just drop straight down on it. It'll be easier. Air resistance won't push me to forwards or backwards or left or right, north, south, east, or west if I just go straight down. Might end up having to burn the second tank or have to use the second tank for that, though. Lose one part, but it'll still fall down back to Earth, so mission will still be done for you, MKM. We're gonna land this beast. Well, at least a piece of it. A small piece of it. The rest of it we're gonna crash. For pizzazz. Ooh, this might not be grand. We're gonna get close, but hopefully... I'm gonna put us right on the horizon line to kill as much of the left right. Of course, MKM. Like I said, you've been the most talkative today. I'm always happy to oblige the talkative people. You help me with my yapping. That's important. Come on. Come on, more inertia. We need to go slower. Slower! We're gonna overshoot. We can't overshoot. We gotta... Oh, we're right on top of it. Okay, and then we're gonna flip around. We flip around and use the top engine. There we go. Keep on killing our inertia. We gotta slow down. We gotta stop. Ah, fine. I'm gonna go back. I F5'd for a reason. Just so I could do this. Alright, time to burn this all down. We're gonna do it quick. We already know what we're doing. We would have overshot if I had let it keep going. We would have just struck the ocean, and that would have been no good. This time around, we're gonna do better. we're too close to an out-of-fuel event, it says. I don't know if we're gonna make it again. I might have eyeballed that wrong. Come on. Let's see if we can make it. Maybe. Maybe. Come on. Alright, we're gonna drop our extra tanks and see if we can gain some extra speed out of that. Nope, we just lost all control from that, is what we did. Alright, we're gonna have to do the thing. Oh, they're stuck to each other. No! The parts are stuck to each other! Come on. Come on. Yank it out. No! I don't know if we'll have enough inertia to kill this now. It's too heavy. It's so heavy. Are we gonna land at the site, though? We might. We might. It's 12 kilometers away. That might be too far. We'll see. Come on. It's trying so hard to pull the little structure out, and it just can't. Come on. Shake it around. Come on, get out. It ran out of electric charge. The landing gear are extended. This thing's probably gonna shake itself to nothingness when it lands. Hope this is close enough for the mission, though. Look at Valentina. She is losing her mind right now. Yeah. Probably would have been smarter to disconnect it higher up, but I wasn't sure I was gonna make it. And unfortunately, the main capsule that was supposed to disconnect and explode, you know, crash, didn't. I'm sorry, MKM. I did get the other small capsules to crash, though. They went boom boom over the hill there. We land. Kerbal Desert. Darn it. For the end of Kaboom? Okay, I got you. I got you. Let's recover this. Is it recoverable? Come on. Stop twitching. Let me recover you. You know what? Fine. Alright. Quick kaboom for our boy MKM. Boom boom. I'm gonna make some high-speed boom boom. I developed this a long time ago as a joke. And this design still holds very true. There we go. There's our craft. Boom, boom, MKM. MKM, boom, boom. Save. Give it an antenna so that I can get get signal. Let's go! It's small so that we can navigate it. These control surfaces aren't big enough, though. One sec. I need more control. Don't worry. It's small so that we can get it going really fast. And we have good control over it so we can just slam it into things. I just need to make this bigger. Something more like that. And I actually need to make it a control surface now that I think about it. Control surface, small. There we go. All right. Let's go. Now we've got control. Say goodbye to the parking lot. Boom, boom. Kaboom! Just for you, MKM. And we can play with those more the next time we do some KSP2, alright? But this is where we're going to wrap things up for here. This has been a nice long stream. I hope you all enjoyed. If you all made it to the end and you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Hit that button down below. Show me some love. Much appreciate. If you're already subscribed, the like button's down there too, so would much appreciate it. And that's where we're going to leave it off. I'll see you all next week. Have a good one.